the Fleas, one of the greatest groups in all of Silksong. All of them are somewhat benevolent. It's hard to say all because Kratt exists, but even Kratt is pleasant enough to be around once you smack him and tell him off. And Flea Master Mushka is amazing. He brings you around the world. He just treats you kindly. And with Ecstasy of the End, he introduces you to a whole world of minigames in the falling kingdom of Farloom, just to keep happiness and hope alive. And because I play Hollow Knight as a very terrible person very often, I have decided today that I'm going to discover a way to steal infinite rosary beads from this group of benevolent fleas. You see, behind Mushka, there's a nice little effigy that you break at the end of Ecstasy of the End. And normally in the sequence where you break it, you just hit it a ton of times, and then you end up with rosary beads and a pale oil. A pretty phenomenal reward just for winning a couple of mini games, and if you're like me, having fun doing so. However, once you do that sequence once, it's meant to be over. You're never meant to get those items again. But what if you save and quit in the middle of that sequence? Normally, saving and quitting in that sequence is not allowed. However, if you've been watching any of my recent videos, you'd know that there are multiple ways in this game to save and quit when Team Cherry does not intend you to. And as you may have noticed in my pause menu, I am on PC because the only way I could find for this to work is an old glitch called pause storage in an old patch. Now, being on PC, it's going to make it hard for me to even win these minigames because I do not know how to play this game without a controller. However, I will hopefully come back in less than many hours and get to the actual end of this quest. Well, I can say with certainty it did take me multiple hours to do all of this. Keyboard and mouse controls are no joke when you're not used to them. But I've completed everything needed to go talk to Mushka and start the whole sequence where I can break the effigy behind him, get a ton of rosaries, and a pale oil. Before I do that though, I want to activate pause storage. You can activate pause storage by going to the quit to menu option, clicking on it, and then clicking escape as soon as you can once that option opens. However, before I even want to show you that, I want to point out why other forms of pause storage like bench storage don't work for this trick. You see, as is the case with all of my videos, I tend to prefer playing Hollow Knight Silksong on console, so the footage you are seeing currently is my console save file, and I can't get pause storage because console is always on the latest patch, but I can get bench storage because it is a glitch that Team Cherry has not patched yet. Bench storage gives you the ability to pause the game in any circumstance, even ones where Team Cherry normally outlaws the ability to pause because they don't want me breaking the game open like I am attempting to do. So I figured I could just bring bench storage into the final sequence of the Ecstasy of the End quest, open up the save and quit menu after I've picked up all of my goodies, and then leave and do it over and over again. And you may see, dear viewer, already why that didn't work out for me so well. I got to this section and can still open my inventory perfectly fine, but that doesn't really help with anything, neither does changing crests. I only want the ability to save and quit the game after picking everything up. And the quit to menu option is fully grayed out for whatever reason. Team Cherry has two options to let you not save and quit in this game. One of them is to just not let you pause, and the other one is to just fully black out the quit option when you do pause. And sadly, though the first option would be fine for bench storage to get past, the second option is not. So even if you get bench storage and the ability to save and quit anywhere, you cannot steal rosaries from Mushka using only bench storage, which means unless you have a release copy version of Hollow Knight Silksong in your console, consoles aren't going to be able to do this stealing infinite rosaries trick. This is exclusively for PCs or anyone else who has the ability to down patch to a patch of Hollow Knight Silksong where pause storage is still possible. Now, let me show you what happens when we actually get the trick right for once and get pause storage instead of bench storage. You know, I'm so glad I beat those mini games on keyboard only to realize I wanted the controller plugged in to better use pause storage. I would recommend grabbing a controller and rebinding the jump button to something different from your interact button, because you don't want to be clicking interact when you have the pause menu floating above your screen. And if your jump button is interact, it's going to mess up a lot of things. But anyway, I also find pause storage a lot easier to get when I have a controller. I guess it's just muscle memory. As you can see, I got it way faster this time. And because we've changed jump off of interact, we can now jump without clicking yes or no. We want this save and quit menu to be kept on screen so that we can save and quit once we've picked up everything we want from the Flea Master's little reward for us. So, the idea I had coming into this was to get a lot of rosary beads and the pale oil at the end of all of this. And you're going to see it's partially successful. It's certainly possible to get infinite rosary beads by just breaking this effigy over and over and over and over and saving and quitting. The rosary beads come out on every hit, and the only time this game considers this whole sequence to be finished is when you pick up the oil and the quest completion goes up. That's why you should always try and save and quit before the XC of the end quest complete symbol goes completely through. And you can ignore the multiplayer thing there. This is my PC, like I said. I just was playing around with the multiplayer mod. It doesn't affect this glitch at all. But when you reload in the game, if you save and quit before the quest completed, Mushka will still be there inviting you to do the effigy breaking, which means you should theoretically be able to get infinite pale oil and infinite rosaries from repeating this event over and over. And that was my hope when I started all of this. You could go instantly from needle zero to max needle damage. Even though it's Act 3, not everyone has upgraded their needle to max by this point. And all it requires is a little bit of finesse with this pause storage glitch and just going over to Mushka. But what you find is that this doesn't really work how I wanted it to. It does work, let me tell you. This isn't a video for no reason. But the game deletes almost all the rosary beads except for the ones from the last hit. And not only does it delete everything in terms of rosary beads, it did not spawn a pale oil that time. Now, I flubbed it, and I didn't save and quit in time, so you'll notice the quest is complete, so I have to reload a save to try and do this again. But I was wondering why the game doesn't spawn another pale oil, even though it does spawn more rosary beads. So I wondered maybe if I got rid of the pale oil, would that be a signal that I no longer have it, and the game will spawn a new one? So I ran and went to get my needle upgraded, and I got some interesting dialogue from Pliny when I tried to upgrade my once upgraded needle in Act 3. Team Cherry, that's an interesting little bit of dialogue you got there. It's one of my favorite lines of the game, I gotta say, to sharpen the needle. Yeah, and really, this is all that was eventful about this entire visit. I got the needle upgraded with the pale oil, and I went back to try and figure out if I would get a new pale oil, and I didn't. For whatever reason, the pale oils are kind of hard written into your character, where once you've picked them up, you cannot pick them up again, but the rosary beads are not. So, it's at that point I realized, you know what, pale oil aside, this is still a really good rosary farming method. Alright, this last bit is going through how you can best optimize this glitch as a rosary farming glitch, and how it's very powerful to do so without combat, only needing to really do one glitch, and with the only thing wasting time being save quitting, which if you're on PC, you're probably not too worried about those load times. So yeah, we start at 55 rosary beads, and we go through the entire Festival of the Fleas ending sequence as normal. So we're gonna end with around like 350, 400 more rosaries. I forget the exact amount offhand. 141, okay, yeah. So we're ending with around 430 rosary beads, starting at 55. Not bad at all, but that is also standard. This is what you normally get by completing this quest. However, because we had pause storage active and we were able to save and quit, we can now instantly go back in, reactivate pause storage, break it the final time, and it will drop the last burst of rosary beads. So instead of going from 55 to 430 and then nothing more, we can activate the pause storage, and if you get good enough at it, you can activate pause storage very quickly, like that. Talk to Mushka again, instantly go back into your little party, your little pinata breaking party as Hornet, where the fleas are very happy and they're not noticing the whole time that you are robbing them blind. So we go from 430 instantly to 555. So you're going to get 125 rosary beads every time you pull this off. And that's probably like 125 rosary beads a minute or less than a minute, given load times and your own ability to do pause storage. If you get pause storage instantly, this is probably doable multiple times in 1 minute. 125 rosary beads for almost nothing. Tell that to your crow's nest. How long is it going to take you to get rosary beads from that thing? And even the grand reads. There's less grand reads in Act 3. So this, to my mind, is the new fastest way you could possibly farm rosaries. And it takes no combat. All it takes is some very fast menuing, and then your ability to save and quit. The way to make this way easier is to not pick up the pale oil. Once you pick up the pale oil, hitting the last hit to break open the pinata or effigy, whatever you want to call it. If you've picked up the pale oil, it's going to essentially end the quest. So just don't pick it up, leave it on the ground, keep activating pause storage, and you can do this over and over an infinite amount of times to my recollection. I don't see anything that would mess this up other than your own lack of ability to click the A button or whatever your interact button is and save and quit once you've picked up all the rosary beads. I have the magnetite brooch on just for convenience. You don't have to have it on, but I'd recommend it if you want this to be a fast rosary farming experience. And that's it. This is a glitch that I was happy to discover. It's cool that it works. Have a good day, everyone.